first of all, thank you for coming. When people come to your presentation on Saturday, when it's raining at 10:30, you just can't start the presentation without thanking. So really, thank you. And yeah, I'll start with this, because why not? And guess what it is? Well, apart, the obvious that it's a head of a pig. Anyone? Well, this is kind of officially my first 3D model that I ever made. I managed to keep it. I don't have it on a computer, but I managed to print it, and I found the paper, and I scanned it back. So this is the only thing that I got. So this was done 17 years ago. This is when I started to do 3D graphics. And well, long story short, 17 years later, these are last 3 best projects that I've been working on. All 3 of them, I've been an art director for all of these 3. Now, for Subnautica, I did the teaser video, which was supposed to advertise the game itself before it was even launched. And for Hitman 2, which is coming in, I think, 10 days, we did 140 assets. And I was responsible to make sure that all of them would be delivered on time. All of their quality would be met by the supervisor at IO Interactive. And well, in general, I was responsible to make sure that all the outsourcing part would go successfully. And for Insurgency Sandstorm, which is coming, I think, in December, we're still working. We're doing a bunch of assets as well. And yeah, so to sum it up, I started with this. And now I'm here. And this is it. Thank you. If you have any questions, please ask. I'm joking. Yeah, but I decided to talk about in the presentation and concentrate on a thing, because this is a very common question for me when I meet other people that are interested in what I do, is how did you start it, and how did you went from that to to where you are now? And this is a question which is you cannot answer it, because this progress is never linear. It doesn't go like from here to there. Yeah, you can actually say that it started here, but now you are here. But it went like this and this and this and like that and so on. And I kind of tried to thought about it and rationalize it, and I came up with this thing that I think that in all that period of when I was in computer graphics, I had stages, and those stages had reasons why I had them. So, for example, I started with computer graphics because I was curious. I played games back then, and I was interested how are they made. I thought that this is the only thing that I'm going to be interested in. So I got the opportunity to try 3D software. I started to do modeling, and I realized now how this works. And I thought that this is going to be it. But now I had another stage, which the first one basically passed very quickly. So now I had the second stage, and the second stage was I'm now enjoying to do something here, and I want to see where this is going. Then I had another, stage where it was, well, I want to improve. I want to, see how far can I go. Then I had another stage which was like, do something beautiful for the sake of doing it, and so on and so on and so on. So I always have different stages, and all of those stages are very different, but all of them have one thing in common, and that is that you always end up having an idea, and you have to make this idea into the result. And what's happening in between is how you actually find yourself to develop this process. So when somebody asks, how do you, go from here to here? I guess the best answer I can give is, well, going by small steps. And I think that manifesting into each of those steps helps you to achieve and go from here to here without thinking in the beginning how it's going to end. So, it might sound confusing, so I'm going to give you an example. Here is very old image that I did. Well, I consider it as old because I did it like in 2010 or something, you know. And I had an idea, only in my head. That was the stage when I like wanted to make things to look nice just for the sake of it, and improve my skills, and to have something in portfolio, and etc., etc. So I have an idea. I had an idea. Idea was that I wanted a female person sitting on a chair with her leg on the table, looking through window in a room. That's an idea. And at this point, I don't know how the end is going to look, the result. I just have an idea, and I want to see how can I manifest it further. So I have this idea, and this is the first thing that gets into something physical in reality that I can share with anyone, where you have something very, very raw, very sketchy, very, you know, but it's just here. And when you have it, it's easier then to go on the second stage. So I'm looking at this, I have the concept, and now this is the stage where I think whether I think it's worth to continue or not. And you know, I had a lot of ideas like that. They're all of them forgotten or deleted or still like in a shelf or something, but this is one of those that ended up being finished. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I have this. So what can I do further? Well, all right, obviously I need a furniture. What kind of a furniture? Is it going to be futuristic, retro? Okay, I'll go with retro, you know. So I have a second stage where I start to put something again. So I had her already, you know, instead of simple skeleton, now I had a female post. Now I have a table, even raw, it's a great model, but, you know, that's a render. Now I have this, and I can go again with the manifesting the idea. What can I do about this, you know? So I overpaint a dress. I want to check maybe, you know, like I overpaint her hair. Maybe she should have a haircut like that. Cool, you know. Let's go on. What I need more, you know. I need to make a plan where everything is going to be. Like maybe in a plan I'm going to have a little bit darker so that she can, you know, be in a focus on a center. So I start with the lighting. Now I have this. Now I can go on, you know, and manifest on and on. So I overpaint and, you know, here again, I have a render, now I have a dress, and bit by bit, this is the last stage before I go to the final, and then the final. And, you know, in the beginning, I would never manifest my idea to have something. I never had this vision. I discovered it along, you know. I just had an idea, and I had to transform it milestone by milestone. So that's same happening not only with the ideas, but in general what you do as well, you know. And those reasons, as I tell you, as I talked about, they also really depend on the technology that is involving. So, you know, to end up from here and here. So today, for example, technology since is evolving, back then when, for example, I did this, it took me 86 hours to render this image when it was at final stage. 86 hours for one single image. And technology like involves, and well, we had real-time graphics back then, but they, you know, real-time graphics didn't look that good because computer has to render a lot of images very quickly, you know. But today we can actually achieve a very good-looking graphics having 16 images per 1 second. It still doesn't look perfect, but it looks enough, at least for me, to be motivated to do something. So I'll jump to what I do now, because now I'm, you know, I decided, basically I was doubting whether I should, you know, like put this into presentation, but then I decided that, okay, I want to do that because, you know, like it's interesting when you're doing something and, you know, to share the process with everybody if you have an excuse for that. So I'll start with the idea. I had an idea because now I have different reasons and different stage, and my stage is now not to make just simple things for the sake of it. I want to, I mean, not only in terms of image, I want to do more. And I want to create an experience. That's what motivates me right now. That's what's interesting. So it's not only about 3D graphics right now for me. I'm talking now about personal projects, where when I do For my work, it's more of a visual stuff, although that of what I do in personal projects also is going a little bit step by step into commercial stuff as well. But anyway, so let's get back to the idea. So my idea is that beside my personal works, I also like to do, well, personal works, but those are fan arts, which means that, you know, like, I like something and I want to create a fan art for it. So I've been doing fan arts for a while. I've done fan art for Fallout, which is one of my favorite games, for Resident Evil, which is, by the way, the first game that hooked me into the gaming. And now I decided that I need one more title to do a fan art, and that is Metal Gear, which is also one of my favorite titles. So I decided to pick the Metal Gear Ray, which is a huge robot from Metal Gear 2. And, you know, again, I had a lot of excuses that I put into one project that I decided, all right, this is going to be fair enough for me to, you know, be motivated. So I want to create the idea. I want to create this huge robot, my own interpretation, and so that give this all experience in terms of like in gaming for people to play it, so that they can not only see the image, but they can go around it, maybe do something. I'm still manifesting. I'm actually currently with this project at this part, and this is what I'm going to show you, this part of this idea, but with today's tool. And I'm using Unreal Engine 4 as my real-time engine, which I like. And here's where's the beautiful part about it. This is what I like about Unreal Engine in general, is because for a very long time, when you had to render, you have to test, and you know, to save up time, you either sketch or you find the ways how to conceptualize this, either by overpainting or putting something. And Unreal Engine 4 is what is beautiful. Is basically, since it's rendering everything in real time, and there is a lot of free assets or given assets by Epic or Marketplace, you can start doing something and put your ideas into something conceptual and get something without even starting to do something, you know, like actual doing any 3D models yet. So I haven't started even doing anything. I just did research. I got Metal Gear size, I got its proportions, I got their very raw model of it. I started to think how the environment is going to look. And you know, instead of like just imagining and doing some sketches, I just went directly to all right, yeah. So it should hook to YouTube. You can play it if possible. So at this point, I haven't started anything to do at all. It's just to see how everything will look in the engine. And that's the beautiful part, because at this stage, I can already test the lighting. I can develop the mood that I want. I can, you know, most likely the end is going to be completely different. I can even test sound, because you know, I can put things into the area and see if the ambient sound is good. Maybe some, like one of the things I'm playing is trying to make operator voice. So, you know, I have like this, found the services that transforms your text into the speech, then you put it into reverbs, delays, and you have, you know, like this operator talking. And you can put that, and when you're, you know, like walking, you can feel that she's like surrounding that voice when it's talking, you know. And that is so much better to start with than when this technology wasn't, you know, here, and I had to like do what I showed you with the image. This is because this is just a lot more fun, you know. And when I'm going to finish this, which is, in my opinion, going to be at least in March or April, and if I'm going to have more work, you know, most likely I'm going to like even delay it more. It's most likely going to be completely different. But again, it's nice to start from here. So you see, these reasons and these technologies, they are very connected. If, for example, I was living a little bit earlier and, you know, it still wouldn't be possible to do something like that, yet I would have other reasons maybe to do it, you know. But to answer the question, which like I said, I get very commonly, how do you go from here to here? Again, it's really up to what period you live, what do you want, and what reasons do you have. So, yeah, that's it. Any questions, please?
Just a moment. If any one of you has any questions, just raise your hand. I will bring a microphone, or assistant will bring. Well, as I see here, right beside you, and then you can ask. Okay?
Wanted to ask, a great speech by the way, thanks. I wanted to ask, what was your first industry job as a 3D artist? Did you start off as a junior making assets and
Yes, exactly that. I started professionally to work in the CG industry at 2007, which is a little bit more than 10 years ago. And yeah, I started as a simple 3D artist, and I did just prop modeling, texturing, UV baking, basically all the dark, thing. And by the way, back then I was really disappointed in this experience. For me, it was a sort of my personal computer graphics crisis. Like I had different expectations for the industry, and I was like blown away by how it wasn't what I expected. So it kind of hit me. But then I restored, and I decided to find again stage and reason why do I want to be here. So I eventually, started over from different points, and I ended up again being a 3D artist. It's just that the mindset was different, and then eventually now I'm still 3D artist occasionally when I need to, but more of an art director, which means that I basically give other 3D artists work and make sure that they do their work. Welcome. Any more?
Hey, I want to ask, how big is your team? You said you're art director. How many artists do you manage?
Yeah, I work at Fox 3D Studios, which is located in Estonia, and we work on outsourced projects. And we're basically quite flexible, and it really depends on a project. So, we have database of artists that do different things and are good at different things. And when we get a project, we basically collect those people that mostly fit for that project. So it really depends on a project. But for a one art director, it's up to have 10 artists for one project, because basically that's the maximum you can look over, because if you go above, the quality drops. You cannot just manage more than 10 artists for a long period of time. So it might be actually 3, even 2, and maximum 10. Any more? All right.
I have a stupid question. Which part of your job do you like the most?
Which part of my job? It really, it's it's not a stupid question. It's actually okay question. Beside being paid for that, right? Okay. Let's see. It really depends on a project that I'm doing, but challenge is one of those things that I like. I like when I'm afraid of a project, and I still go with it, and then I end up finishing it successfully. For example, when I was doing Subnautica, which I think was still my #1 most stressful project that I ever had. That was the first, by the way, project where I was participating as art director. And Unknown Worlds, who made the game, they basically had this. They basically had this idea that they wanted to make a teaser, and that's it. That's all they had. They had storyboards. Storyboards are the pictures of their ideas, and that's it. And they gave everything to me to decide how much will it cost, how much of people will have to be involved, I had to find those people. I had to make sure that those people will do their work. I had to contribute myself because I did the whole lighting in that teaser video. I had to make sure it will be rendered. And there were a lot of problems along the whole progress. And thank God my CEO took very, like he understood that I'm new in this field, as an art director. So he really helped me with that. And thank God, because God damn it, I would be screwed, So, like there was like 3 weeks when I wasn't sleeping at all because you had the budget and the budget already has the buffer for failures because failures are always happening. But when you're new and you not get used to the failures, it hits you really hard. Like we had the first round of animations and eventually after 3 or 4 weeks, no, 3 weeks, I think, it turned out that the main art director didn't like those animations. And we had to start over. And I realized that I just wasted about $10,000, I think. Just, and for me it was like, oh, shit. So I was like not sleeping for 2 weeks. But, this, again, it was good because we prepared for that failure because those happen, It's just that you don't want to fail because you're afraid of that. And the reason I'm expanding on this question, I guess a little bit too much, but I want to end up that, finally when everything was finished and we did everything except the sounds, and the guy from Unknown Worlds, who is responsible for sound, when he made the sound for the video, because he already started to do it before we even rendered it, and when it was completely finished, he put the sound and he showed me for the first time, and I knew that everything is finished, and now I saw the whole final product with the sound. It was this, it's so good. It feels so great. Not because it turned out a little bit more better than we expected, actually, but also because, yeah, I remember when I started and I was like completely afraid of how it's going to be, and now it's done, This feeling of achievement, that's what I like a lot, I guess. And this applies to all of the projects. The same happening now with Hitman, because it was challenging. It wasn't one of the hardest projects that I had, but it had some challenges. It had some problems. They have their own engine, and I had to learn this engine. And it took also like a lot of effort to do it, but eventually now the Hitman is going to be in 10 days, so I'm going to play it and see how everything is good, and now I'm going to enjoy it. Sorry, it's a little bit too much of a time, so I hope that answers the question. I'm sorry if it's too long. Yeah.